Yo, what's going on, Dragon Ballers? Welcome back to another video. In today's video, we're going over the new championship pack cards that players will be getting for participating in what I guess is just the second segment of 2023 regional and competitive events. Now, this is actually a little bit more important to talk about than you might realize. Of course, we're going to go over the cards and talk about their competitive viability like we always do. But the thing with this is, the first stretch of 2023 was so good for just entering tournaments because the different champ pack promos in the different colors were all just good, whether they were for a certain deck or just for the color they represented, which for the most part, they really all just were colored generic, right? Like Sin goes in any yellow deck, Broly goes in any red deck, Cooler goes in any green deck, Vegeta goes in any deck, to be honest, the SS4 Vegeta. And then there was the Trunks, which is maybe the least generic out of all of them, although you can technically play it in any blue deck. They were all just really good cards, so just for entering these tournaments, you were getting really good prize support that if you wanted to could convert into money, or you just had really new shiny toys to play with in your decks, which is really cool. Now, the other problem is we had some really weird reprints in these champ packs as well, which was a never before seen thing. I guess there was at some point a poll or a survey where players were asked what cards they would like to have reprinted, and I guess that's what they based that decision off of. Although in this specific product or prize support, I think it was maybe a bad idea to implement. And that was cards like the Majin Buu Unison. We had other really strange ones like the Vegito 8-drop, Overwhelming Prowess, and just weird reprints like that I guess people did want, and upon looking them up, they were actually somewhat expensive for the foil versions of the cards from the base sets. But the fact that the champ packs were more diluted was a bad thing in the sense that if you got a bad randomization of champ packs, you weren't pulling many of these cards and you were pulling all the reprints. However, that was also a good thing on the double-edged sword kind of way, because these champ packs retain more value. So for those of us that wanted to enter and flip some money, whether we topped or just even wanted to just flip our entry, we were able to do that because these promos were able to retain a good price because they were much harder to pull. So again, that's like the double-edged sword of the whole thing, where the reprints kind of sucked. Honestly, it would have been really cool if they were alt art reprints. That would have been a great idea, because then it wouldn't feel so bad to pull them. They would be new cards essentially, or at least new variants of cards. But on the other side, keeping these champ packs a little bit more diluted did make them a bit more rare and a bit more costly for those of us that wanted to, you know, make some money off entering tournaments and topping. So that overall is a good thing. I don't know, it's sort of like a problem where you're not gonna be able to please everyone, unfortunately, but it is what it is. I think it's a decent system, but again, I think if they do this, they should definitely do alt art reprints for any card that they are reprinting alongside these new champ pack promos. Unfortunately, in this new leg of 2023 prize support, we are getting more reprints. I don't believe there's any alternate arts, which is somewhat unfortunate, but hopefully they learn for either leg 3 of 2023 or, you know, 2024, whatever the case is. We're gonna go into the new promos in today's video. I just want to talk about that little spiel about, you know, the prizing system in general and how it could be improved upon, because in general, like, leg 1 of 2023 is great. 2023 leg 2, maybe not as good. We'll talk about that in the video. If you're new, make sure to subscribe, hit that bell so you never miss a video, and let's jump right on in. We have our first promo, which is Yamcha Attack Fury, which is meant to support the Yamcha Supersonic Striker leader. I think there's an even older Yamcha leader that this could technically also work with. But anyways, deflect, auto limit 1. If your leader is a red Yamcha, when this card's played from your hand, draw 1 card, play 1 mono red Earthling only with energy cost of 2 from your hand, and this card gets plus 10,000 power for the turn. So the fact that you're cheating in another card is not ever going to be a bad thing, I guess. It really depends on what the best 2-cost mono red Earthling is. And that could just be another copy of a different Yamcha from the seams of it. There's like a Yamcha that swings, looks at top 5. There's a Yamcha that at the end of the turn draws a card. So I guess you really could just play a Yamcha fully based deck and just like span that out, do that kind of thing. And then auto once per turn, sparking 5. When an opponent's battle card is KO'd in battle with this card, draw 1 card, switch this card to active mode, and this card gains critical for the turn. Okay, so this leader, Supersonic Striker, does set up the drop area pretty well because it looks at the top 2 cards, puts 1 red card in your hand, the other one goes to the drop area. However, this effect is definitely reminding me of the older Yamcha leader. I believe the Awakened side lets your red battle cards attack active mode cards, so that would make sense with this card, where you could attack like an active mode 1-drop or an active mode blocker or something. You would be 25k from the on-play auto, so KOing that seems rather realistic, and then restanding this for the critical seems pretty good. 25k critical at that. So this might be cool for some like rogue-ish like red Yamcha decks. but I don't think it's going to do anything too crazy. And this is the first sign of, like, you know, comparing these promos to the first legs promos, in that this, compared to Broly, for red in general, I mean, you can't even play this in every red deck. You can only play it with a red Yamcha leader. So that's, you know, definitely somewhat unfortunate. But for whatever reason, that's the design philosophy they decided to go with for these promos. We'll see how it kind of pans out. But next up, we have Gogeta, Birth of the Ultimate Warrior. Okay, so this is definitely treading some interesting waters, because they decided to throw a promo at what is perhaps one of the most laughably bad archetypes in set 19 in most recent history. However, this deck did manage to top a recent European webcam event, so take that as you will. We have Gogeta, Birth of the Ultimate Warrior, Union Fusion for a green. If you have 2 or more energy, you draw 1 card, green Goku BR and green Vegeta BR. Now, I'm noticing this card is missing the ability to fuse from the Z energy, which maybe is a little bit of a downside. I mean, you do draw 1 card back after pitching the 2 for Union Fusion, but you're still overall going -1. So anyways, auto limit 1, if it's your turn, when you combo, draw 1 card. I guess that's how you make a card back, although unless you combo via an effect, you're still just like going 1 for 1 from hand. But then this card can't be KO'd till the end of your opponent's turn. There's that classic like green / Gogeta protection that is just not very good. Like, I get Gogeta is like one of the most OP characters, and you want to give him some sort of like unique protection, but this can't be KO'd is really, really bad. Activate main limit 1 for a green. If you have 4 or more energy, you add this card to your Z energy. Play up to 1 green Gogeta BR with energy cost of 8 from your Z energy, and then that card gains dual attack for the turn. Okay, that is pretty cool. I like how it juices up the boss monster, and I guess you don't theoretically need to play this in a Veku / Gogeta leader deck, although you do of course have to play some number of Goku and Vegeta BRs to fuse into this, so that might present a problem in and of itself. But yeah, I mean, I guess it's cool for what it does, but I don't think this is going to bolster this Gogeta Fusion Complete deck to any new levels of like even rogue tier status. But I guess we'll see. This deck can play Uneasing Awaken Rage, which is kind of cool. That is a really nice floodgate for green sand decks. You don't get the draw that Gohan does, but it still might be decent. So I don't know, keep an eye on this, see what you think. Then we have Paragus, Seething for Revenge. This one's super interesting. So we have a 4-drop 20k, auto limit 1. When your yellow Broly BR is switched to active mode by your leader's skill, switch this card to active mode, then add the top card of your deck to your life. So you get some rejuvenation for a leader that once upon a time was the best leader in the game. This leader has been errated to where it can only restand your Broly BR cards. It used to be able to restand any card that you controlled. So that's definitely a lot different in terms of power level, but the fact that the leader takes life to restand things, and then this Paragus rejuvenates that life, you know, for free is pretty cool. Active main limit 1 for 2 yellow. If your leader is a yellow Broly BR card and your opponent has 2 or more energy, play this card from your hand, then add up to 1 card from your life to your hand. So if you need help getting awakened, this gets you there. And that's cool against like leaders that don't ever attack you, although this leader takes life on every swing and has to take life in order to draw cards. So that might not be the most useful like taking of life, but it is there if you need it. Activate main limit 1 for a yellow. If you have 4 or more energy, choose one of your yellow Broly BR leaders and it gains plus 5k power till the end of your opponent's next turn. So you get that sort of like Senzu Bean-esque effect on your leader who can attack multiple times. So that's going to be 2 20k swings on your leader, a 20k swing from Paragus, and then your leader is Senzu Bean going into the next turn. Okay, as far as legacy support goes, this one's pretty impressive. Again, alone, I don't know how this is going to necessarily bring this leader back from the depths of unplayability just because of how old it is, but I think it is a really cool support card. There are a lot of like green yellow things that were thrown at this leader over the years, so maybe that will be a pretty cool like local deck, but I don't think it's going to do anything too much on the rogue level. I could be wrong though. This leader, I would not be surprised if it surprised us all and was able to top an event here and there with this new card and some of the older support it's gotten over the years. It's just waiting for that right thing to kind of glue it all together. Maybe this Paragus is that, but you know, time remains to be seen on that one. All right, then we have Toa Dark Demon Realm Madness. This is a 2-drop 15k, deflect, critical, swap 3, limit 1, a Toa with energy cost of 3. So kind of interesting, goes into any Toa with a cost of 3. I don't know them all off the top of my head. However, this is somewhat meant to support the Deborah leader that came out in set 16, because I believe that was the archetype where a bunch of swap stuff came out. But the cool thing about this card is that it doesn't only need to be played in a Deborah deck. So let's keep reading. Auto, when this card's played, choose one of your opponent's battle cards and send it to the owner's warp. Then this card gets plus 5k for the turn. Auto Spirit Boost 1 for a black if your Demon Realm race or Demon God card is in a battle. When this card's using the combo, that card in the battle gets plus 10k power and double strike for the battle. So now Deborah, any Toa leader, Machikabura leader, the Shroom and Salsa leader, have an in archetype 15k double strike granter, which is 5k more than Champa or Isekai used to give. However, it is the cost of Spirit Boost 1, so you will need to establish a unison if you want to play this card and gain double strike. That is pretty cool. I do kind of like throwing this like specific double strike granter to these black decks, because I think when you're looking at black decks, especially over the past couple of years, you're mostly looking at black sand decks that have the most direct support given to them. There is, of course, more recently like Spring Kind of Time, which has its own great line of support, but these Demon Realm decks are definitely a little bit lacking. So I think this is a really cool card to specifically throw to them. And I guess you could say that black sand decks have a crack in space time, which is totally true. I mean, that they totally have that, but this at least is applicable to any Demon Realm race or Demon God in a battle, not only your leader. So that's kind of neat in and of itself. Then we have Kale, Demon of Universe 6, getting SS2 Kefla Ultimate Patara Fusion Bond. This card is honestly kind of insane. So it's a 7-drop triple striker, does not have barrier or deflect. That matters a lot less now, though, with God Sealing Trunks being banned. This will make it a little bit weak to yellow, though, because there are many cards in yellow that can rest this upon play, which would stop at least one of its effects. But anyways, when this card's played from your hand, choose one of your opponent's battle cards, ignoring barrier, place it at the bottom of their deck. Then choose one of your blue Kale leaders and then place 2 cards on top of your deck under it. So that is the main way in which Kale is able to ramp, by having cards placed underneath it. This one accelerates you quite a bit fast, which is cool. Now, the problem with Kale 2 is that a lot of the cards you play to ramp yourself tie you into only playing Universe 6 battle cards. However, what I'm thinking about with this card is it can get you to Tragedy Overground seemingly quickly, or at least more quickly than you would have got there normally. So that's kind of neat. And then when this card attacks, draw 3 cards, then your opponent places 3 cards from their hand at the bottom of their deck, and then at the end of the turn, switch one of your energy to active mode. So that second auto there, swinging, drawing 3, and making your opponent bottom deck 3 is honestly really good. And again, the only color you're gonna have a problem resolving that is against yellow. So I think having this card against the rest of the colors is honestly pretty big. Let's not forget the Kefla Z or Caulifla Z deck battle card this leader got in the recent anniversary box, which is kind of cool. You kind of had this weird situation where you wanted to like play that card on turn 3 after ramping, but you also wanted to play Majin Buu Unison. But now that Majin Buu Unison is limited to 1, you're more likely just going to play Caulifla on that turn. Then whenever you see Buu later on, you'll play it later. And then this card comes down on your 7 energy, gets you accelerated again, probably to Tragedy Overground. That's quite interesting. I'm kind of prepared to say this will be a pretty cool rogue deck, not gonna lie, but again, it's gonna struggle a bit against yellow because this thing doesn't have deflect. But anyways, those are my thoughts on these Champ Pack promo guys, and just like the dilemma of promos in general, at least in the current state they're in. I think it's generally okay. It does suck to open those reprints, and I hope in the future we get some alt art reprints. That would be very cool. But let me know in the comments below what you guys think about this stuff. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.